right, welcome to another What's Relevant. Now, what we're talking about today is what does it take to build a fully customized solution for whatever it is you're doing, whether it's something that's electronics or software or electromechanical. But what we're going to be looking at particularly today has to do with, well, when should I build something versus buying something off the shelf? And what are the trade-offs? What are the considerations? What do I need to do when I'm looking toward those kinds of solutions? What trade-offs are we looking at here?
Well, there's definitely a lot of different trade-offs that we have to look at. Obviously, custom solutions gives you the maximum amount of flexibility, and that can be custom from in terms of software, from in terms of circuit boards, from in terms of mechanical, electromechanical components. All of those things can be completely built from scratch. But if you build them from scratch, that does mean you have some development time. And sometimes you can purchase the item rather than build it from scratch. So get that stuff that's off the shelf and then maybe put it together into the product that you want. And you still have a custom solution just using the building blocks that are brought off the shelf.
Sure. Now, when I'm looking to do something completely custom, some of the reasons I might look towards building a fully customized solution are that what exists in the market doesn't meet my requirements. It doesn't have the ability to break out of the constraints that it has. Now, anything that I design or buy is going to have constraints. But when I'm looking at what's available, what can I do and what can I put together, especially when it comes to, well, do I have an interface? Do I have a controller or piece of electronics that solves my problem? And when I'm purchasing something, I don't have the flexibility that I get to define into my system, and that's what really leads into building a customized solution, right?
Sure, and that definitely says if you've got the requirements, you've got airborne, space constrained, environmental stuff that you just can't find something off the shelf, then obviously you have to do that. But the flip side is when you get those problems that come up where it says I just need something that's going to get me to market quick. I have some pretty special needs, but not necessarily a lot of constraints. You can leverage what's out there already rather than developing those big solutions. We're standing here in front of an inspection station that we put together for a customer that is almost entirely off-the-shelf items of hardware that have been integrated together into a solution to their particular problem.
Off-the-shelf table, but custom tabletop. Obviously, we're not going to build a laser sensor ourselves, but really, when we look at those things, we need to figure out what constraints exist in the item and really knowing the products well enough to use them, right?
Right, and one of the things that made it possible for us to even develop this system was that we were able to do the market research to figure out what options were out there. This company had tried multiple other sensor solutions before and had said, hey, these sensor solutions just aren't going to solve our problem. And we were able to go to them and say, hey, by the way, there's actually this other sensor solution that actually does solve your problem. So you got to be aware of what's out there, otherwise you end up
thrown away, but because of how it worked out, we were able to put something together that we said, well, you have requirements and constraints, but don't throw everything out. There was a way in which to use an off-the-shelf sensor solution that existed from a vendor they may have not have used again, because we were able to understand and know the product and see what it was and solve the problem that actually needed to be solved, right?
Yeah, and you also have to be aware of what's out there. Otherwise, you might start, hey, there's no solution that solves this problem. I've got to develop it by custom. But you do have to make sure, read the trade journals, hit the website, subscribe to that stuff so that you know what's out there, so that when that problem comes up, you say, hey, I know what's been done to solve that problem already.
Sure, so the reasons that we would look at buying something off the shelf versus designing our own are obviously going to come into cost and time constraints, right? I mean, those are things that we obviously have to consider. Now, just because I have the capital for it doesn't mean that I have the time to do it. Just because I may have time for it doesn't mean I have the money to solve the problem in a long development cycle, right?
Yeah, and what you got to be really careful of is you've got to make sure that you don't get to the place where you think you can solve the problem easily and don't take into time the problems that you don't know about yet, and then start down a development road that doesn't have a good ending point. And so buying something off the shelf kind of limits your risk in that manner as well, because someone else has already hopefully addressed that problem in the product that they've already got.
Exactly. So when it comes to trying to solve the build versus buy situation, understand the time you have, understand the products well that you're dealing with, understand the problem and the constraints that you're dealing with, and make sure you're not solving the wrong problem. Now, here at Duotech, what we do is we provide a competitive advantage by not jumping to the fully custom or the fully off-the-shelf solution, finding what solves the customer's needs. When it comes to dealing with software, electronics, and electromechanical systems, visit us online at duotechservices.com. See what it is that we do here, and if you have time, follow us on Twitter, and look forward to talking to you again.